Hey gang, how are you? Kevin Goatee, gutting the sacred cow. What's going on? By the time you've heard this, we've already had our live show. So if you were there, you know all the cool things that we had and how much fun it was. And if you don't know, if you weren't there, well, guess what? You're going to have to wait till next week or so. Before we get to it, with Bobby Umar, by the way, trying to rip the heart out of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, two quick notes. Hello to all of our new fans and friends. Thank you so much for coming aboard this pirate ship of tomfoolery and general shenanigans? Whatever. If you have not yet done so, please, a 5-star rating, 2 or 3 sentence review on the podcast platform in which you listen to us would be extremely helpful. Do not forget, guttingthesacredcow.com every day has blogs. Our new favorite topic, That Doesn't Happen, where we pick something that happens in films they try and pass off as a regular occurrence. Guttingthesacredcow.com every day for new articles. And of course, while you're there, grab a mug, a hat, a shirt. But the most important thing we could ask, tell your friends about how awesome this podcast is, because it is awesome. We're the only movie podcast doing what we do, and we do it so damn well. Share with your friends. Tell them about our podcast. That's all we can ask for. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. And now, without any further delay, here is Bobby Umar taking on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Kalima Shakti Day.
Gather round, here's what I know. It's just that this cow has got to go. I know some people kinda like it, yeah, it's trending right now. Yeah, that doesn't matter, 'cause we're gutting the sacred cow.
I'll be back. Only in a rerun. Kevin Israel, name that film.
Oh, yeah, hold on. I can't remember.
I'll be back. Only in a rerun.
Oh, wait, was that true? Not true.
I know it.
Fuck. I can't remember the name of the movie.
The Running Man. Jesus Christ.
Running Man.
That was an easy one. I gave you an
I couldn't. I could picture it, and I just couldn't get the name in my head.
Okay. Hey, everyone. How are you? Gutting the Sacred Cow back again. Kevin Israel. What's going on, buddy?
What's happening, dude? How we
Well-
doing? Yeah, should we fill the? Oh, yeah. Hold on. I can't remember.
I'll be
I know
back. Only in a rerun.
Oh, wait, was that true? Not true.
I know it.
Fuck. I can't remember the name of the movie.
The Running Man. Jesus Christ.
Running Man.
That was an easy one. I gave you an
I couldn't. I could picture it, and I just couldn't get the name in my head.
Okay.
An alternate intro. Hey, that was an amazing live show we had.
Excellent. You're 100%. That's a good. Wow, you guys, you missed it by not being there, you idiots.
Can you believe all those naked chicks showed up? I was shocked.
David Tell, the greatest comedian who ever walked the face of the earth, he goes, every time you've ever hung out with a bunch of guys and then left, you get a call from your buddy, the next day. Oh, man, you should have hung out, man. After you left, the Dixie Chicks came in and fucked everybody. Even the kid who has asthma in a wheelchair got a blowjob wearing a Babylon 5 t-shirt. And that's why David Tell is the best. We didn't come here to talk about David Tell, although I seem to do that in a lot of our podcasts. We've got Bobby Umar today, and he has come on our podcast to talk about the second Indiana Jones film we've done in this program, and that is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Bobby, thanks for doing the program. How are you, sir?
I'm excited. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm super pumped to talk about movies. It's great.
Bobby, tell the fine folks what you're up to, where we can find you, what's going on in your calendar.
So I'm basically a motivational speaker and leadership coach, and so I basically am a social media influencer with 500,000 followers, a lot on and at Instagram a lot at Rehan Bobby, RAEHANBOBBY. I do a lot of work on storytelling, and I do have a comedy kind of link, which is on the board just for a comedy theater. I used to do improv comedy through the day.
Sounds better. Okay, Bobby's come on to do, like I had said, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, 1984, a budget of $28 million at the time, a gross of $333.1 million. Now, In 2020 dollars, $71 million budget, $844.7 million in 2020 money. That is some pretty good fuck you money right
Is that
there.
our biggest jump? I feel like that might be the most impressive leap we've had for inflation.
No, Gone with the Wind by far.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
Gone with the Wind. It's stupid how I think that made more than Avengers did when you do the
I think it came out to
Wow.
when you do the jump. Bobby, as you've heard on our show before, we do the IMDb score, which you know is a scale from 1 to 10 with decimal points. What did Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom score on IMDb?
Oh man, I don't know. I'll go for 7.8.
Kevin Israel.
I'm going to go 8-2.
7.6.
Wow.
Bobby right there for the rebound.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes, as we also know, is a scale 1 through 100 percentages. What did the critics score Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Kevin Israel.
68.
Bobby.
I gotta go 69 just so I can hopefully win on the upper side.
84.
Boom! Wow, that's a lot. That's good.
Yep.
Those must have been, that must be affected by a lot more recent.
You saying it got brought down?
Yeah, I think I got pulled up. I feel like
okay.
initially the critics probably were a little harder on it.
I'm dying to see if anybody has the balls to come on our podcast and do Raiders. I think that one's going to be a bulletproof one. Do you?
Well, I like that we're doing it backwards.
We are.
Well,
we started with
if they did Avengers, someone's gonna do Raiders.
listen, before we get, I'm sorry, we'll get to the next point in 1 second. Bobby, give me the audience score on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
I'm gonna go higher. Let's say I'm gonna say 88.
Kevin Israel.
I do agree with Bobby, so I'm going to pull his trick and go 89.
81.
Ah, damn it. Bobby, you've been all over me this
Wow.
whole game.
Man, he is
That's
on
good.
you like stink on shit. Yeah, Bobby, I think there are like 10 films we discussed that I think are completely bulletproof. I think Raiders is one of them. I think the Matrix is another. Goodfellas is a third.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, Naked Gun, Shawshank. Those are all, I think, bulletproof, or no one's going to. Caddyshack. No one's going to have the balls to come on there.
Shawshank, yeah, for sure.
No, not going to touch
And
that.
I also feel like if somebody picks those movies, it's just going to be like, all right, it's going to be terrible. Like,
Yeah, it'll be all
picked-
conspiracy theories and stuff.
Right.
Their only hope could be it's overrated, and here's how. It's not a 9 or a 10, it's a 6 or a 7. But
Right.
there's no one who can
Right.
say it sucks.
Right.
And I'll still shit on their points. Quotes. Kevin Israel, I'm sure you may have a lot of these because most of mine are said by the same guy. Dr. Jones, no time for love. Hold on your potatoes. Nice try, Lao Chi. Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory. You cheat, Dr. Jones. You call him Dr. Jones, doll. Feels like I'm stepping on fortune cookies. Hold on, lady. We go for a ride. And another one that's under the radar. We are going to die. Kevin Israel, what quotes did you?
Yeah, you took all my short round quotes, so thanks for that. Thanks. I didn't want audio out there of me mimicking a Chinese kid. So
Vietnamese.
actually, he was
racist.
Vietnamese, yeah. But he was supposed to. I think in the movie he was supposed to be Chinese.
Yes, that is true.
So the two quotes that stuck out to me were when in the club in the beginning when he has the knife to Willie's side, he says, "Give me what you owe me, or anything goes."
Yes.
It's like that was the name of this song.
Yep.
Yeah, and when he's in Wiley's room when they're about to do it, he goes, "Nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist."
I like how you called her Wiley, like Wiley E. Coyote. It's Willie.
Willie. Do you know I always think it's Wiley in my head for some reason?
I'm like, Wiley. Did she have a big bomb that said Acme as she struck a match and blew herself up? Bobby, what quotes jumped out at you?
Oh, I like all the ones from Short Run. I mean, you cheat Dr. Jones, you call him Dr. Jones doll. Those are great. And I actually like the ones from the main bad guy, Mola Ram, because he speaks in Hindi and I know what he's saying. So when he went, Kali Ma Shakti De, and I was like, oh my god, that's scary.
What does that
What are
mean,
you
by the
doing?
way? Since you're a translator, what does it mean?
It means black mother, give me I think life. And it was scary. But it was really intense, man.
Wow.
I'm gonna jump the gun and say Mola Ram, top 10 villain of the 80s, hands down.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, I feel like villains have been trying to recreate him for years
and failed miserably.
It's just the eyes; they're so scary.
Hey,
Yeah.
his vocal intonation, everything. That guy is a Bollywood star. I'm sure you might know. But that's not in our 5 fun facts. These are our 5 fun facts. Spielberg got the idea for Temple of Doom as the ideas that he had that did not make the cut in Raiders, specifically the minecart chase scene that was in Temple, would have been in Raiders when he and Marion were escaping from the Nazis after finding the Ark. And the raft in the snowy mountains would have been Indy on his way to meet Marion in Nepal. Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow.
Ki Hu Kwan, who played the aforementioned and affable Short Round, was discovered by accident. His brother was there to read for the part, but producers saw explain to his brother what exactly was going on, and they invited him to audition with Harrison Ford.
I'd pay a lot of money to see that video.
I would kill to see that. There's got to be a YouTube of that. All of the film's locations were in India, but no part of the film was shot there. Why? Indian officials found the script to be offensive to Indian culture, and they wanted final cut. So the producers said, fuck you, and changed the location to Sri Lanka, as well as London and the Paramount lots in LA. Number 4. Harrison Ford had a slipped disc when he awkwardly fell while fighting the thuggy guard in his bedroom. He had to fly back to the States to get emergency surgery. So they used Harrison Ford's body double for 80% of the conveyor belt fight with the thuggy slave master, who, bonus, by the way, played the Nazi mechanic that he fought in Raiders.
That's a great.
Don't get me started on that.
I love that. That was a nice 2-for-1 fun.
And there is a picture of his stunt double, and the guy did look just like Harrison Ford.
I saw. Yep.
Oh.
Last one, and I'm guilty because I thought this. Spielberg petitioned for this film to be PG-13, but this is not the first film to be PG-13. Want to take a guess what is?
Gremlins?
Good guess, but no.
Empire Strikes Back?
Empire was PG, and that was 4 years prior, so no. No Star Wars film was PG-13 until Episode 3, which was 2003? 4? 5.
You guys are awesome nerds. This is great.
Yeah. That's why we hit number 15 on the iTunes Top 100.
Wow. The best.
Yeah, you are. Bobby, you're going to help us get past that. Ready? Let's go. The answer is Red Dawn.
Oh, yeah. All that blood and gore, right?
That was PG-13. PG-13 in the 80s was so much better than PG-13 now.
Ain't that the goddamn truth? Yeah, this is nothing. Okay, we've got our 5 fun facts out of the way, but we want to give Bobby Umar the chance he's been champing at the bit for. That's right, champing. Don't say chomping. Don't seem like a dumb dildo in front of your office coworkers. It's champing at the bit. Bobby Umar, it is now your turn to gut the
sacred cow.
All right, well, thanks, guys. And so the reason why Temple of Doom sucks is that I broke it down to 4 key themes, and I'll tell you what they are right now, and then I'm going to dive into them. The first one, and then the other thing that's interesting is I got to start with the biggest one. What's the biggest thing that really bugs me? And I was debating between, is it 1 or 2 or 2 or 1, and I was like, but I went with number 1, and number 1, it's Willie Scott, man, as the heroine. Absolutely horrible. Number 2, the Brown connection or disconnection and the offense that it gives. The third piece is the white savior aspect. And the fourth one is the chronological aspect of how it broke my suspension of disbelief in the theater. So let me get into Willie, because she is absolutely the worst. The worst heroine. I mean, she's a heroine. I mean, she's nothing compared to like Marion and who, she's a badass, right? And then you have Elsa, who's at least educated, even though she wasn't that great of a villain, I think. And, you know, she's a cliche damsel in distress. She's pretty much the Jar Jar Binks of the Indiana Jones franchise. And here's why. Let me explain why, okay? Number one, is she comic relief or not? Because she wasn't very funny, and she kind of warmed my patience. Number two, she screams all the time and complains about silly things like dry cleaning and no phone. You know, I'd much rather hear a fellow say, "Hello, Indy, my friend," you know, versus having said that 100 times versus her saying, "Indy," you know, like, I don't know how many, she must say like at least a dozen times in the movie.
Right.
She insults the hospitality of the Indy village who are starving, right?
Right.
I mean, what's not to like about her? Oh, she's a keeper, right? And then, okay, I'll give this. She's wearing the Indian outfit, and as a brown man, I find white women in the Indian outfits pretty hot. But you know what? It's still wrong. It's still cultural appropriation, and so, you know, gotta be mindful of that. And by the end, like, Willie was so painful to me that I stopped rooting for her. And, you know, maybe when Mulron threw her in the lava pit, I was kind of hoping for some collateral damage. Maybe Indy will find himself a real authentic South Asian babe, you know, with a college degree, and that will be nice, you know, for the rest of the movie. And then, of course, you know, Spielberg married Kate Capshaw, and we all know why she may have been there, because, you know, like, he was going through a divorce. He met her, and, you know, she was really pretty, and there you go. So I think she just caused a huge problem for the movie. So number one, Willie Scott as the heroine, just a terrible, terrible person to have. Number two, the Brown connection, or the Brown disconnection, as I call it. There were so many cultural inaccuracies regarding Indian culture, the depiction of Indians as, you know, these chilled monkey brain eaters, and the misrepresentation of the Hindu goddess Kali, which isn't evil. It's actually a good thing, right? And there's a lot of controversy there. And then the main lead, and this is something I'm going to tell you, the Amrish Puri. One thing a lot of people don't know, this is a bias on my part. He actually looks and sounds like my dad. And so because
Who
of
does?
that,
Mola Ram?
yeah.
Okay.
So when my brothers and sisters watched, we were like, "Oh my God, that's dad!" And it was so scary. We just couldn't sleep for days.
Did he go to your? When he tried to put you in bed? Did he go to your heart? Kalima Shakti
Exactly.
Bum bum shibai, bum bum shibai.
Did he put
Like,
his hand on your chest every
eyes.
night?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my dad has his eyes, you know, and just the voice, and he's very stern, and like, oh my God, that scared us. So that was funny. And then, you know, why is the entire group of Indian leaders following a kid, right? I mean, even when the Maharaja spoke, right, he was actually dubbed. You could tell he was dubbed by somebody else. They couldn't get a brown kid out of like a billion kids to just say those words. I thought this, and I thought that, you know, all the stuff he says. That'd be nice. How did voodoo culture enter South Asian mythology? That one I don't understand. The entire dinner scene was god awful and disgraceful. Like, just having brown people, and first off, they weren't even brown people, but having brown people eating bugs and snakes and the chill monkey's brain and all, and eyeballs.
Wait, 1 second. I hate to interrupt you. What do you mean they weren't all brown people? Besides them, the three of them, and the English general or whatever he was, they were all.
No.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, that's my next point.
Okay.
Perfect segue, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So there was actually a bunch of white guys dressed up as brown guys with like these big beards and stuff. They were clearly white. A few of them were Middle Eastern, okay? But seriously, they they found South Asian women dancers in the palace, but they couldn't find anyone to cast 2 billion brown people in the world. I mean, come on. I thought that was ridiculous. You know, and next time, like, stick the Nazis as the bad guys, please. So the brown piece is very offensive. Number 3, the white savior aspect. Okay, you know, we have a woke culture now, and so many movies dive into culture areas where the whole white man saves the non-white folks. Indy saves the Indian village. Then at the end, you know, they're fighting the Indian guys. The British White Brigade shows up and kills the rest of the brown cult-like folks. And to me, like, that's a bit much. And then finally, the fourth thing that bugs me is the chronological pieces as I watched through the movie that broke my suspension of disbelief. And I will say right away, it opened up. I love the opening. I thought that was really cool. The number was kind of cool. The fact they did it in Mandarin or whatever language, I think it was Mandarin. That was great. But let me go through things where I kind of lost my disbelief. First off, the antidote. Okay, they present the antidote. Who does that? Are these criminals or are they like nice guys? I mean, villains who want to provide an escape and offer a soliloquy on how to actually get away with it and provide the solution. I mean, they should just kill them, took the thing, and they should have gone. I don't understand why they would do that. Indian's Asian buddy in the beginning with the gun. He dies. Oh no, we barely knew him. We barely knew you, buddy. But who is he? And are we supposed to lament his death? It was like trying to squeeze an emotional moment for my broken Black Panther doll that you guys never met or knew. Like, why would you care? Why do I care about this guy? Like, there was nothing there to care about this guy. I noticed the club was called Club Obi-Wan, so thanks, George Lucas. That's probably one of your things. The third streak by Willie, I was already wishing she was someone else. And then I'm glad they had. And here's the other one. That they have the traveling map motif, where they take a plane and a train and they have the map and it goes along the line.
Yep.
They only did it once. Like, that was it. I mean, and that was it. And then we just dove into this gigantic hole of a cave and we never left and never went anywhere else. And then, really suspending my disbelief, the life raft falling from 1,000 feet. Like, come on. Like, that was scary as hell. But like, and then nothing. They should have broken multiple bones.
But they landed
especially
on
Willie. What's that?
But they landed on snow. It's soft.
I mean, especially Willie. She's so fragile, right? And then they slide down a mountain on a snowfield, and then they fall another several hundred feet into rapids. You ever done a belly flop? Smack. That thing would hurt. Not a scratch on him. And then after that, again, last thing, while I love the ending of the kids running to the village, which was really sweet. First off, there was literally, I don't know how there's 200 kids in this one village, but, because there's more kids than were parents. Okay, or way more kids than parents. But did they have to end the movie on Willie again with Indy? Like, seriously. They decided to start the movie with Willie and end the movie with Willie. The worst aspect. Please, free Willie from this movie, please. And the last thing I want to say for you guys is finally, I was 13 years old when I saw this movie, okay? And I was more terrified of the dark scenes and the kill your heart scene than it was as a 10-year-old watching Raiders melt people's faces. So, holy nightmares, Batman. That was like scary as hell when I saw it when I was 10. So, that's why, to me, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom sucks. Willie Scott's a horrible heroine. The Brown disconnection, the offense of cultural appropriation, the white savior aspect, and all the chronological pieces that made me suspend my disbelief.
Even as a kid in 1984, when this came out, you walked out going, nah, not for me.
Yeah, just rubbed me the wrong way, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's my say, and I've said it.
Okay. No. That's good. I like
I'm getting all heated up. I'm getting worked up. Does this normally happen to you guys? You get worked up?
Oh, of course it does.
You're a lot of energy.
And you're about to hear the energy returned. Kevin, you want to go first for this one, or shall I go first?
Why don't you go first?
All righty then. By the way, these notes sponsored by the lovable Gutting the Sacred Cow website, where you can buy a shirt like this, as well as hats, mugs, bags, cell phone holders. Kevin, what else can the good folks find at guttingthesacredcow.com?
Oh, you can find our blogs every week. We're writing literally every day. We're giving you blogs. We're giving you content every single day. We're giving you news. We're giving you the movies we watched and didn't like or loved, so you don't have to suffer through it, and you can just enjoy the stuff we enjoy. We're talking sequels that we want to see or don't want to see. We're giving you a bevy of information for free, nothing, and they're short and they're easy and they're fun, and you can sound like you know what's going on in entertainment.
And we're starting a brand new segment called That Doesn't Happen, where we pick a scene from a movie that annoys the shit out of us, that people try and the producers or writers try and pass off that happens in real life, but doesn't happen in real life. So we have our peccadillos to air. Notes.
Wow, there are many.
3
right, it's very big font.
14. Cambria. Notes, I love seeing Jean-Claude Van Damme Shidoshi from Bloodsport as the Chinese gangster. He should have made Indy stick his hand into a koi pond and pull the diamond out while blindfolded. I knew one of you was going to get a Bloodsport reference. Yeah, man. Great film. First time I've ever seen someone use a gong as cover. Wish there were many more times someone replicated that.
Damn it.
You did? Staked. Yes, Kate Capshaw is an annoying, shrill character. And wouldn't you be shrieking if you had spikes in your face, spiders and bugs in your hair? Bobby, you mentioned you don't like her. Guess what? Let's consider the basic fact that she's not a typical heroine, and people are angry that she doesn't show female empowerment. Why? Because she is a showgirl, okay? A showgirl. And to all the people who've complained, not every female role has to be one of empowerment. I haven't seen a showgirl kick ass ever. And believe me, I watched an entire film about them, starring Jesse Spano from Saved by the Bell. Long way to go for a Showgirls joke. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm proud to say I've never seen that movie.
I saw the Dollar Theater, and it was glorious.
You went to the wrong dollar theater.
She's hot. I've never, ever fallen asleep while putting my hat over my face and close my eyes. Anyone else? Anyone else ever put their hat over their face? I've never done that. Kevin, is this another that doesn't happen moment?
That's what I was just going to say. Add it to the list.
Is this
That was
just
a good one.
Is this just a movie thing? Like sticking a knife in your mouth while diving off an ocean as your boat explodes? Is that the kind of realism we're getting into here? Isn't Short Round the cutest scamp you've ever met? How did Indy not take his hat off after every take and tussle his hair after every line?
Maybe he did.
Goddamn Harrison Ford. That's what we call a missed opportunity in sales. Very bold prediction looking at the village guide and saying, we're in India. Wait till Google face recognition comes down the pike in 7 years, Indiana Jones. I'm not big with I see your cultural appropriation jokes or lines. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. Here's one I think you missed. So if Indy could translate what the village leader was saying, why not converse with him in his native tongue, being he's on that guy's home turf?
Right.
I don't care how rude it is. If you cut into any part of meal that I'm at and something crawls out of it, I'm swallowing the change fee and calling the airlines for an immediate flight out of that country. Kevin Israel, I've got my first nomination for That Doesn't Happen. Throwing the whip into the fan will not hang someone as its fan twirls around and eventually hangs them to death. That fan would rip right out of the ceiling. That doesn't happen.
I just hung a fan in my house, and as I was hanging it, I pulled on it and thought of that scene, and was like, "Wow, I wouldn't even hang from it for a second. It would just tear right out of the wall."
It was also a really big guy too. He was huge. He would have ripped it out of the ceiling.
Right?
Yep.
Didn't we all see Jackass, the first one, where Steve-O jumps into a fan and him jumping into it knocks it right off?
Yeah, fans aren't very sturdy.
I love Jackass films. Even my 5-year-old was watching that with me for a few moments. Until the toy car part came out. Then she had to leave the room.
Oh, jeez.
We can all thank this film for inspiring Kano's fatality in Mortal Kombat.
Finish him.
Love it. I got Bobby on that one. Here's another one.
Victory.
You know it. A pretty bloodless heart extraction by Mola Ram. He'd make a hell of a phlebotomist.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm pretty good with geography. I had no idea that Pankot Palace was on a volcano or had a direct line to the Earth's core.
Don't you know in any movie, if you dig down deep enough, you hit liquid hot magma?
Yeah, magma.
Magma.
In a village of people who do not speak English, how is it the one kid in jail spoke perfect English to Short Round?
Excuse me. 2. Both of them spoke perfect English.
Oh, okay. Mola Ram did not pull out Willie's heart, but he sure could have done us a favor and yanked out her vocal cords instead. I missed one. I already said that one. The collapsing spike scene in the room is still fucking amazing, and I'll fight you on a hill. Thank you.
It's right up there with the trash compactor in a New Hope.
Star Wars. And here's another one. The mine car chase scene, also super iconic. Flawless.
Yeah.
John Williams' music is top fucking notch. I will argue that this trilogy and the original Star Wars trilogy arguably are tied for the greatest he's ever done. Every one of those films, the original 3 of this, the original 3 of Star Wars, are just neck and neck and neck and neck and neck and neck. Flawless. The music makes these movies so much better. Okay.
Superman.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying. You said something stupid in my ear. Don't repeat that. Listen, E.T. over Superman. Thank you very much. The timing is way off with some of these scenes. Indy would have been crushed by the spikes because there's no way he would have made it across the room through the door in time before that door shut. Willie would have burst into flames like the other guy who did, whose heart got yanked out at that same exact height, or at the absolute very least gotten second/third degree burns. And Indiana Jones' face was millimeters from that rock grinder. You know grinder, Kevin. The rock grinder before he escaped. So
That's how we met.
No, it's toe tapping on the Vince Lombardi rest stop. I know it's the 80s, but holy shit. The scene where water shoots out of the mine when they all were plastered against the rock as it shot outside of the mines. And the scene, and also the falling into the river with the alligators, that was horrendous special effects work. Horrendous. A funny nod to Raiders of the Lost Ark when the two thuggy guards swung their swords around. Indy reaches for his gun and realizes there's no gun.
Right.
Love that nod from Raiders.
Yeah.
That all being said, this film is still fucking solid. I love Temple of Doom. It is the third best of the trilogy, but that's like the original Star Wars trilogy. All three are excellent. There has to be one that is the quote unquote worst, and this is it. But this film is more enjoyable despite people displaying fake outrage like you'll hear in the Amazon comments. Okay. And as a postscript to you, Bobby, I wrote this down as a complaint. How the fuck did the Brits know to show up at that exact moment, at that exact location, and shooting down the thuggy guards? That was something else. Wait a minute. Nope. I give this film a 7 out of 10. It is still excellent. And yes, it passes the remote test. Bobby, the remote test is if you're flipping around on cable and you happen to stumble on any film at any point in time of the film, do you drop the remote? The answer for this film, emphatically, yes. Even my 5-year-old, when I was watching this just yesterday before football started, she stuck with it for she walked in and the last hour, so all the bad shit happened. This is pretty much the minecart chase scene and a little bit before that. She was glued, and she is not yet working on this, a movie fan like Daddy, but she was glued to watching that shit happen. She loved when the bad guys fell to the alligators. That's the fun part she enjoyed. 7 out of 10. Kevin Israel, the floor is yours.
Wow, 7 out of 10. Well done, Kevin. So you covered a lot of my points. So we'll try to keep this as tight as possible. These Indiana Jones movies have never seen any kind of stereotype they didn't like and then fully dive into completely head first. Sometimes they're enjoyable. Sometimes, as Bobby points out, they push the limit a little bit. But goddamn, they like stereotypes more than Tarantino likes the N-word. It's crazy how every time they show somebody of some ethnic background, it's that exact one thing you probably think about that ethnic background. He's like, we're riding this all the way. The gong, I want to know which is better, hiding behind a gong while it's rolling and people are shooting bullets at you, or running from a boulder and getting under the door just in time. I'm not sure which is cooler. I think the gong.
Yeah, because no one's ever done that before.
Right. Between watching this and having just watched The Hateful Eight, I will never drink anything around shady people ever.
Now you know how women at clubs feel.
You just have to assume everybody's roofing you.
Yes.
I get it. I don't know how nobody's pointed this out yet, but Han helps Indy. Han helps Indiana. The guy's name was Han. And I actually rewound it. I was like, is his name actually Han? And has nobody ever pointed this out? I don't know if that was intentional or what, but I thought it was kind of coincidental that this random character. I also agree with Bobby that they bring this guy in and he goes, oh, we've had so many adventures. And it's like, what were these? What did you do? Where did you come from? Now, I also always forget that this is actually a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. And they never, other than the dates, you don't ever really get anything that Indy either wasn't as good as he was later. Like you never pick up on that in the movie. But the fact is, it did happen a number of years before Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm. What year did this take place? Did they say 1939?
38 or 39. Yeah.
So right at the beginning of World War II, right? I guess when all this shit was really starting to happen.
Yeah. The fact that he falls out of a plane, rafts through wherever, ends up in the middle of India, goes to a palace, and some guy walks out and goes, Indiana Jones, I know who you are. Like, what? He's an archaeologist. He's not Brad Pitt. The guy's like, oh yeah, I know you, but come on in. That's complete horseshit. Especially back then. I could maybe understand today because of the internet, and I could see some official knowing him because maybe he's famous. But back in 1930, there was no chance this guy knew who he was. And he that gets me I think it's just hysterical that he finds this guy in the middle who's just like, oh yeah, I know who you are.
Well, don't you think they get a
You saw him tweeting earlier, probably.
Yeah. No, don't you think he had a subscription to Time Life magazine sent to Pencott Palace?
The the line where Short Round where they're walking through all the bugs and they don't know it's bugs yet, and he goes, I think it's fortune cookies. It's like, we get it, he's Asian. Holy shit. Like, we get it. Yeah. The kid's Asian. Did they have to, you know what, we should make the point one more time. Make a fortune cookie joke. That'll really make our point this time.
It would have been a bonus if when they were playing cards and Indy won the hand, he would have taken his money and went
Well, you know what? It was almost when Indy first sees, when they're in the raft and they first stop and he sees the villager standing there, Indy goes like this. It's like, oh my God, not everybody does that. I mean, I don't know if that is a universal thing in India, but it was just like, okay, we know that must be India because he made that gesture. That's what we know about India. They do that. He
pulls out a yoga mat from behind and goes, namaste, and does downward dog.
The mine scene, I agree with you that the mine scene is iconic. Yes. The riding through the mine scene. It does feel a little bit like a Disney ride to me.
It was.
It's very exciting, but you could see it almost makes sense because Spielberg, as you said, those two scenes were scenes that he wanted to bring in. And there was just so much focus on those scenes and so much going. He just had this great idea for the scene. And that scene almost overwhelms the rest of the movie because it's so well thought through. It felt like almost an independent moment from the rest of the movie, which brings me to my overall thought about this movie. I was never a fan of Temple of Doom. I'm still not a fan of Temple of Doom. I love Indiana Jones. I think he's a great character. Harrison Ford is amazing as Indiana Jones. Is this a terrible movie? No. But does it compare anywhere to the other two? Absolutely not. It's funny. I was saying to Kev before we started taping that my opinion actually apparently goes against everybody else's opinion in the movie of this movie, because I think it has way too light of a feeling. Everybody's saying how dark it is because of the violence and the ripping the hearts out and this and that. Maybe I'm just numb.
Well, kid slavery, that didn't get you either.
Everything. Yeah. Hey, look, everybody, we need iPhones. But the point
and
is
diamonds from blood diamonds too.
But the point, it just, everything felt comical. It felt like they were making fun of almost everything.
It's like Roger Moore and James Bond. It was more of a silly Bond, right?
Yes, 100%. Totally.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
It's a great, that the dinner scene, that dinner scene is also iconic, but it's batshit crazy. Nobody would ever invite a bunch of, and because they had the British guy and now they had Indiana Jones and they're big, even if that was your native cuisine, if you're hosting foreign dignitaries, you're not going to be like, hey, we eat bat shit, so now you're going to have to eat bat shit. You would try to make them comfortable, feed them something that they might want to eat. But it was,
that's a great point. Like, start them off easy, like chicken tikka masala. We can all eat that, right? We're cool on that.
Listen, we're going to put a little bit of curry in this. You might not be used to it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna try.
Rogan Joe's another basic one.
Although anytime anyone serves soup anywhere I am, I always go chilled monkey brains.
Great.
But that whole scene, it's just, the whole thing feels very comical. And Indiana Jones to me in this one feels like a character of himself. It feels like they took everything, all his behaviors in the first movie, and made it worse. Like when the snake falls, when she thinks it's the elephant's trunk and the snake falls, and he's like, ah, like all right, we get he's scared of snakes, but everything just seemed to be dialed up, and they just said, hey, what worked in the last movie? Let's do it, and let's just go crazy with it. And all the bad guys were just so over the top. And my biggest problem with this movie is it didn't feel like it has the gravity of the first movie. The first movie had this world-spanning adventure, and it was the Nazis, and it was Jesus, and it was all these huge, historic moments. And this movie felt like it was just brought down to this one. And I get that they wanted
like a county. He saved a county, great.
Right, right, and that's fine. And if you want to do a micro version, but then they go back to with the third movie, it also gets huge again, and they're going all over the world, and they're fighting the Nazis again, and
the fourth one too.
What's that? Right, and the fourth. Well, I don't even like to think.
Yeah, I don't acknowledge it either. It's shit.
But to me, it just doesn't have the same feel. It doesn't have the same rhythm. It's a fun movie, and maybe if the movie existed in a vacuum without any of the others, it might sit with me better. But for me, I never got into it. And even sitting down, and I've seen this movie at least 20 times, and I can never remember what the overall plot is. I never remember who's in on the joke. I never remember why the Maharaja is also brainwashed. It's sort of a complicated story as far as what they're doing to the native people and why they're trying to get these things and what these things are. Where Raiders of the Lost Ark, the principle is really simple, but the movie's very big and it feels very grandiose. And this movie feels like they were just like, you know what? Let's do all this stuff. We're going to make it silly. Indy's going to be, Indy, he's going to be saying dame and babe, and he's going to have his whip and do some whip stuff, and they're going to go through a mountain. And it's got, for me, it never hits. And I disagree. And Kevin, I very rarely disagree. Mm-hmm. For me, it does not pass the remote test. Oh. I never stop on this movie when I see it. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, every scene is awesome in that movie. You can stop on any scene in that movie and just watch that scene and go, wow, I just saw something really cool. There was something iconic that happened in this. For me, there's a couple of scenes in this that stand out, and the rest of it is just kind of jumbled together. And again, the overall tone, it's just too cartoonish and too comical. And it seems like they almost tried to cover that up and slather it with violence. Like, well, if we're gonna make him silly, but we're gonna have him rip somebody's heart out. So that'll make it more serious and dark. It's like, it just never worked for me. I've never been a Temple of Doom guy. Mm-hmm. I did have the action figures from this movie though. So for whatever that's worth.
And the video game for Super Nintendo is fucking amazing if you had it, because it had all three movies in one game.
Yes. Yep.
Loved it.
And that remote thing you talked about, I would argue that the remote is you drop the remote because you're waiting for the mine shaft scene. That's what you're doing. You're not dropping the remote saying, oh, I can't wait to see what Willie does next. You drop the remote because you want to get to the really good stuff, which is near the end.
Right.
I don't think, listen, as a fan of this one, there's no one who's going to come to her defense. She's by far one of the biggest blights on the whole fucking franchise. There's no one who's going to argue that Kate Capshaw.
And you know what? I think the bigger problem with her was, sure, she starts out a showgirl and she's shrill and obnoxious. There's literally no evolution to this character. She does not end up a single bit better than she was when she started off. When they're looking at the gems, they've already been through all this shit, and he goes diamonds, and she's like, diamonds? It's like, your lady, you just watch a human sacrifice. You saw kids being enslaved. These people are starving, and you're still thinking about diamonds? You're just a piece of shit. You're literally just a pretty piece of shit that Andy's stuck feeling guilty and he has to keep alive. So yeah, anyway, for me, the movie's a 5. It's, I mean, in the realm of movies, it doesn't make me nauseous, but it never really did it for me.
Bobby, give me a number, 1 to 10.
Well, you know what's funny? Like he gives it a 5. I'd probably be around the 5 or 6 as well, because again, I love Indiana Jones. And one thing you didn't bring up is when she's down there in the shaft of a volcano, she would die. So people would die and burn to death. Like that's not, people wouldn't be able to sit there and they would be
dead.
Burned,
you'd suffocate. It's all you would suffocate.
Yeah, so I'm also going to give it a 5 out of 10.
That's fine. I knew this one would be when I saw you did it, I go, you know what? Yeah, people don't like it, but a lot of people, I mean, I like it. Look, I already said it's the worst of the trilogy. You know, I'm probably even weirder. I think Last Crusade is the best one, but I still love Raiders, and I like
Last
this one a lot.
Crusade is my favorite too.
Yeah, me too. I love it. Right? So I guess Connery makes everything great. Right. Okay, cool. Let's get to the critics' 5-star reviews. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom may have some impressive features, but it's nowhere near the classic as Raiders or Last Crusade, obviously. Again, you will savor the Indiana Jones schizophrenia. By day, a bow-tied, bespectacled archaeologist. By night, a resourceful swaggerer whom Ford brings to life as a modern blend of Bogey and the Duke with just a glint of misfit psychopathy in his eyes. Someone's trying to seem smart again. The reality is that this film comes close to reflecting the racism, sexism, and jingoism that fueled most of the serials that originally sparked Spielberg's and George Lucas's impressionable young imaginations. I don't think people ran out here and tried pulling out hearts of their friends in the playground after seeing this film in the 80s. I know I didn't, so disagree. A breakneck adventure that moves at twice at the pace of the original but has only half of the creative strength. Critics 1-star reviews. It's not the darker turn that makes the Temple of Doom uncomfortable at times. It's its mean-spiritedness. So let me get this straight, folks. I'm asking you. So Nazis in 3 of their films, that's not mean, but this is mean-spirited. The Nazis are mean, but this is mean-spirited. Really?
You know, and I kept seeing that online, that this one was darker, and they're saying it's darker just because it's violent. But the Raiders of the Lost Ark was still dealing with the Nazis and Hitler's need to collect the occult and the consequences of opening the Ark, and the people melted. The melting was especially now, it's ridiculous looking. It's the most cartoonish thing in the world. Right. But at the time, it was horrifying looking. Yeah. And it's not quite as violent as watching a guy get his heart ripped out. But again, to Kevin's point, there was no blood. Yeah. If you stick your hand in there and blood just falls out and the guy, flops over and you're holding his beating heart, that would be. But this was, I just think they're giving too much credit to the darkness of this movie just because there were a few scenes. The guy gets crushed in the rock grinder,
also, which has a 6 to 12 inch long stripe of blood after someone goes in a rock crusher. That doesn't happen.
His intestines would have been stuck to it.
It would have been a spattering. I mean, we've all seen Hostel and shit like that. People are holding on a grenade too long. That's what would happen.
It looked like a ketchup packet went through.
Yeah, like your mom washed 2 ketchup packets in your jeans. That's a perfect analogy, Kevin. I love that. Next one makes you wonder if Spielberg and series producer George Lucas might have been going through some drug phase.
Well, Spielberg's going through his divorce, right? So
he was.
Aren't they both going through something? I thought I read
Spielberg
something.
was for sure. I don't know about Lucas.
I thought I saw that Lucas was going through some shit too.
Terrific opening with Anything Goes in Chinese. Then the kid shows up and it's downhill. Fuck you. I thought, and I thought Anything Goes was when the 2 Coreys went to go meet directors and producers.
Jesus Christ.
I knew it was going to take a second. It's a well-written joke, Kevin.
Wow, the 2 Coreys. That's
Listen, this podcast.
What's the reference?
Yeah, Bobby, welcome to this esoteric.
I know the reference though.
No, I'm saying this podcast is nothing if esoteric references. So,
and he keeps it in the 80s. So that's
I love it.
Listen, stick to your tenses, right? That's writing 101. Amazon 5-star reviews. This movie has the stunning Kate Capshaw. I would not call her stunning. Would you? No. Pretty. Of average, not stunning.
I would say she's prettier than. Why am I blanking on the
other ones?
The first in
Marion.
Karen Allen from Animal House, but the Nazi archaeologist is a smoke show.
Oh yeah, she's
and her name is
that
Alice.
Scene where she's talking to both of them and they're chained up. I was like, even that's kind of hot.
Yeah.
No, I like Kate Capshaw. She's more my type. I like the curvy ones. And when she wore the Indian outfit, because my wife is white and she wore. When we got married, she wore the fish of it. I found that pretty hot. So there you go.
You fetished at your wedding? That's cool.
It's hilarious. And Harrison, oh, sorry, yeah, okay. And Harrison Ford is simply incredible as one of his iconic roles. John Williams is at the peak of his composing game as well. You know how too often sequels don't live up to the original? Not true in this case. It adds to the enjoyment if you've seen the first Indiana Jones, but not imperative. I copy and paste, Bobby. I don't edit for this.
Why does he leave with Kate Capshaw though? That should be the last thing.
Well, no, these are different. These are different.
Oh, these different ones. Okay.
Yeah. I pause. I give a nice 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then go to the next one. Could not finish the movie. Forgot how scary this one was with all the sacrificing. My 7-year-old loved the first one, so we were bummed when he had to turn this one off. The PG-13 part doesn't clue you dumb dildos in for a second that they give these ratings for a reason. Not the best movie ever made. Thanks for going on a limb, jerk off. Certainly terrible in some parts and a fair bit of racism, but I'll always have a soft spot in my heart. You know who didn't have a heart? The guy who was the Lord of the Lava Pit. Sorry. Because I think it was the first Indiana Jones movie I ever saw. It was the 80s. What do we know back then? Someone explain where the racism is. Okay.
I like that he says, what did we know back then? As though it was the 1300s. No, it was the 1980s.
Be fair. Come on. Are we under that same microscope 40 years ago as we are now? Not even fucking close. Not even close.
I get that movies are always going to have different tones, but it's not that long. What did we know back then? We still thought the earth was the center of the universe. Come on. It was the 80s.
Next one was a gift. Stream of consciousness at play, fellas.
You have to hope that guy actually wrote a really long review and then accidentally hit delete, and all that was left was a gift, and he was like, fuck it, and hit enter and went to bed.
Can you imagine his parents caught him? What are you doing up there? Are you jerking off? No, I'm writing a review. They come busting the room. You're jerking off. No, review. Turn it off. Click.
How many people rated that helpful? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I just should have looked that up. But now we're getting on to our favorite section, Bobby. That is the Amazon 1-star reviews. After not seeing this since my childhood, I'm horrified at just how bad this movie is. Cinematically, it's an inexpert playoff films of the 40s. But where those often chauvinistic leading men also carried a code of gentlemanly ethics, Jones replaces those here with 80s bad boy qualities. In reading about how this travesty of a shaky plot riding on top of wild sexism and racism came to be. Inviting to your house for Hanukkah, Kevin, next year?
Yeah.
Next one. Yuck. Kate Capshaw. More yuck. Signed, Steven Spielberg.
Just kidding, honey. Wink, wink.
I didn't watch this. Someone hacked my account.
Wait, was that really one?
Yes, that really was one.
That's amazing.
We've gotten a few of these, and I have the need to throw them in every fucking time. Dark. Do not like human sacrifice. Hey, can we find someone who's pro-sacrifice? Hit us up at GTSC podcast on Twitter if you are pro-human sacrifice. Mayans and Incas need not apply.
My kink is human sacrifice.
Yeah. Over-the-top, ridiculous adventure, which is extremely violent and gory. Not for kids under 10 years old. Hey, assholes, remember the part where it says PG-13? Sounds like this person says, red light? Nah, I'll just go right through. Hey, I got into an accident. Very poor analysis and representation of Indian culture. Hey, I didn't know this was a Margaret Mead documentary on Indian people. Thank you. What an incredible mess. It looks like an extended commercial for a roller coaster ride at Disneyland. How on earth does junk like this get financed and made? Okay, here's business 101. Because the first one made a cajillion dollars, you 2.5 men loving simpleton. Next one. Very entertaining, a classic. It's under as a 1-star review. Waka waka waka. That's hilarious.
They don't get what the stars mean.
No.
They think, but they meant number one.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I'm not going to get in their minds. Bobby, are you?
No.
Kevin Israel, did Bobby Umar gut the sacred cow?
This is a tough one for me because I agreed with everything Bobby said, and I that we had a similar score, and but I think this movie is still one of those classics that's just going to stand the test of time. It's Indiana Jones. It's a beautiful Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford in this movie is just stunning. He's just
Beautiful.
When he takes his shirt off, I'm like, he's even in shape. Like he couldn't have just had a little bit of a belly to make. My wife even went. I was like, all right, I get it. He looks fantastic.
That'd be even funny if she goes, no, I farted. Never mind.
So, Bobby, you did a really good job, but I just think this movie is just going to stand even in the face of the stuff that we pointed out. So I don't think he fully gutted it, but I think he definitely gave it a good couple stabs to the throat, and it's now teetering around. But this movie is going to keep standing, and people like Kevin Goatee are going to keep saying it's great.
I like it a lot. So I'm saying it's great, but I like it a lot. Bobby, I agree. I think you did a great job. You didn't fully pull the heart out. You definitely made it drink the blood of Kali Ma, which is, you hypnotized a few people, I think, but not enough. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? I forgot to write down. Where the fuck did the voodoo doll come from of all of a sudden? Where you had the voodoo doll?
I mentioned that.
God damn it.
Oh, I had that note. Too.
I mentioned that.
You did the voodoo doll? I missed that.
I missed the voodoo doll. How's voodoo doll connected to?
Oh, right. He said
culture?
voodoo. He said voodoo.
Yeah,
You did?
Where did
Okay.
he
I'm
make it
sorry. I
from?
missed that, Bobby. I missed that. Yeah, they made it in time. They found him. They made a voodoo. You know what? Let's make a voodoo doll. Oh, we'll put a hat on him. That's how we know it's different than everybody else. That's silly.
I said the Maharaja makes a mean voodoo doll. Just out of nowhere. He just has this perfect, even in a leather jacket. Like, where did he get the clothes?
From his Barbie kit.
I was going to say a Barbie dream house. He has a Barbie Pancop Palace dream house.
Yeah.
Bobby, where can the world find you? What are you up to?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Rayhan Bobby, and you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook talking about my business, my work, and but mostly on Twitter. Twitter is where I do a lot of my sharing pop culture, talking about politics, talking about things that I think are hilarious and funny, and that's the best place to find me. And my website's rayallen.com. So if you want to check me out, please do.
Ray Allen, as in the former UConn player who played for the Bucks and all those teams back
Well,
in the 90s,
Rayhan's my first name, and Allen was the middle name of my partner, so we put it together. But there you go.
I'm more surprised Ray Allen doesn't have his own website. The playing. Well, too bad. He's going to pay you off for that.
Exactly.
Bobby, you were great, man. Thank you so much for coming on Gutting the Sacred
Killer
Cow.
job. Awesome.
Kevin
you guys
Israel.
are amazing.
Oh,
So
thank
funny,
you.
So insightful. The research, this riffing on the movies, I loved it. I had a great time. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
That's a hell of a testimony. And I also will say, Bobby, you are the first person to shout out your LinkedIn in the shout out section of our podcast. So congratulations for breaking new ground. Kevin Israel, where can the world find you? What are you doing?
Well, you can find me at kevinisrael.com, but you're going to go there and look at a calendar that's completely empty because the world is shut down and there's no stand-up comedy anymore.
Nope.
So really, why bother? But what you should do,
KevinGoatee.com. I don't know. What's the same reason as Kevin? There's no stand-up dates coming in, except my NFL picks, which are better this last few months. KevinGoatee.com. But more importantly, GTSC podcast on Twitter. That's where we do most of our damage. Nowhere near as Bobby, though. His following is impressive. GuttingTheSacredCow.com every day for some nice toilet reading. Why not get paid to be at work and poop at the same time and read our articles? That's our motto, right, Kevin? GuttingTheSacredCow.com, GTSC podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We don't do flossing videos. That's stupid. We're also on LinkedIn. I also post stuff on LinkedIn under my name, so go ahead. You'll find stuff there. But in the meantime, you guys are all dolls. Don't forget, please leave us a 5-star rating, 2 or 3 sentence review on iTunes or whatever your podcast platform of choice is. And we have, and listen, I love taking photos and putting them on our social media of our favorite, well-written, funniest reviews, whatever. We did a bunch last week. So keep on doing that. We really appreciate it. And tell a friend. That's the best compliment. Tell a friend how funny we are. And you just heard Bobby say how funny we are. So God damn it, if he's not a source of endorsement, I don't know what is. Guys, you girls, you've all been gems. Thank you so much for joining Gutting the Sacred Cow this week. We love you. See you next time. Take care.